Hi there. In this lecture, Bobby Fischer is playing against Mikhail Tal for the fourth time now. So he's currently lost 3 games against Tal. Will this be 4 games losing to Tal in the tournament? Will it be a wipeout? So this is in round 27. Fischer plays e4 and Tal replies with the Sicilian defense. Knight f3, d6, and we get another Sicilian Najdorf after knight f6, knight c3, a6, and Fischer persists with the Sozin system, named at that time but later to become the Fischer-Sozin system, because Fischer really developed this system into a really aggressive weapon with even more research behind it. So bishop c4. So just to mention, Tal's favourite move here is bishop g5 by far. So Fischer was kind of veering with this bishop c4 approach from the usual bishop g5. It's more of the main line. We see e6, bishop b3, b5, f4, and now Tal maybe plays a little bit in a risky way. He does play b4 to try and win this centre ball, and he doesn't need to do this. It's a little bit of materialism in the opening, maybe at the expense of development and king safety. Things need to be in balance, especially when your king's in the centre. This kind of breaches the art of war principle of putting yourself beyond defeat before going on to the attack, or in chess terms, active operations before you've developed pieces and put your king safe. So okay, knight a4, and Tal actually does go for the pawn. So he could have, for example, here played bishop b7. This seems as though, after e5, for example, knight fd7, queen h5 is a sharp move, pinning that pawn and introducing things like knight takes e6, but g6, queen h3, and okay, it can get scary though, the positions. There are potential sacrifices, and this could be a variation where black is doing quite well, but okay. Overall, it seems objectively bishop b7 might be a safer move than this approach that Tal has adopted in this game of playing b4 to try and win that centre pawn now with knight takes e4. Even here, again, bishop b7 seems a little bit on the safer side. If e5, then knight fd7. If queen h5, again with this idea of knight takes e6 because it's pinning that pawn, g6, queen h3. Okay, here we can see that maybe knight takes e6 looks dangerous, but overall black should be able to weather the storm. It's technically about equal anyway. Nevertheless, knight takes e4 was played, and Fischer castles g6, and now things start to look pretty terrifying after this next move by Fischer, which is f5. It does seem as though, hold on, why has Tal played like this? He hasn't really developed any pieces. So apart from the knight, most of his pieces on the back row, apart from this knight. It seems as though white's liberating this bishop and this rook. And it looks like very, very, dangerous territory indeed. G takes f5 is played. This does give a potential upside of the G file, which might be good in conjunction with this diagonal. Okay, but now things get kind of violent. Knight takes f5. Tal needs to tread extremely carefully here, of course. He just takes the upside of that G file. He just plays rook g8. If e takes, then queen d5 is pretty good, hitting f7, hitting the rook. If bishop e6, queen takes a8, bishop g7, it seems white should be in good shape here after queen b7, and maybe a plan of bishop d5 later. White seems to be doing quite well here, although it isn't over. Okay, but black does have activity. Okay, but Tal plays rook g8, and now we see another spectacular looking move, bishop d5. And again, it's kind of unwise, it seems, to take this offering. Tal actually plays rook a7, just grabbing an upside of being able to shield things with the rook potentially. So he's grabbing these little like micro upsides, and he's offering the knight in exchange for that knight. If he had taken the bishop, queen takes d5 is rather dangerous, hitting the knight, hitting the rook. Potentially, this is dangerous, this cooperation on f7. If bishop takes f5, queen takes f5, rook a7 here, queen takes e4 check, rook e7, queen takes b4. This should be an advantage for white. This particular position should be to white's favour. So rook a7 was played. We have bishop takes e4, swapping for that piece on e takes f5. Now here is a moment where Tal could take a leaf out of, Fischer rather, could take a leaf out of Tal's book by keeping the complexity going and actually playing bishop f3 rather than taking this pawn. This would make sure that white is more solid on the light squares in particular. If these guys get exchanged off, it's not just black suffering more on light squares, it's white as well. And this g-file, like upside of the active rook, could be significant later. It seems this is a kind of simplification turning point, because Fischer played bishop takes f5. Just to look at bishop f3 for a moment. Yes, it represents a pawn sack, but white's pawns are much neater. There's double pawns. There's 3 different pawn islands here. 1, 2, 3. They're fragmented pawns. And if bishop g7, bishop e3, it seems white could use the b6 square. And you can see that white is solid. The king is solid, kind of nice, and white should have the advantage from this kind of position. Okay, things could get tricky, but overall white should have the advantage, parrying the pressure on the light squares. In the game, when Fischer played bishop takes f5, it seems now, after rook e7, that, okay, Fischer took on c8 here, so that was the intention. Queen takes c8, but white is also now weakened on light squares. We see bishop f4, which is actually an inaccuracy, and this doesn't really help matters, this bishop f4. It seems as though c3 is a good idea to protect that knight in advance for moves like queen c6, double attacking a4 and g2. And that would mean, now that the knight's protected, white could afford rook f2. And rook f2 actually means that actually this rook could switch also to that c-file later if it's opened up. This could be an entrance into the position. If black doesn't play b3, say a5, we can see that white can actually get cooperating pieces soon with a tempo gainer there and the c-file there, and shielding g2, and then all of a sudden the c-file does become significant. So this is a purely fictitious variation, of course, but it shows that potentially, it was an interesting position for white. Very fictitious variation, but potentially that seems to be the way to go, to preempt queen c6, to give an option of rook f2, and potentially use the c-file. But if we give the best representation of black here, it seems b3 is a key move to make sure that c-file isn't so dangerous. And white has to play a takes here, because if queen takes, then rook e1 is mating. So say white plays a takes, then rook g6, and still, white should be better off here. This situation should be to white's favour. So for example here, it's eventually, to white's favour. But it's not that easy. There are pins here. It's not that easy. But it should be to white's favour. Okay, so we have, though, bishop f4. And things seem to simplify now after queen c6. Hitting g2, threatening mate and the knight. So we have queen f3. So if rook f2, then, taking the knight, bishop takes d6. This is interesting, for sure, but it turns out black should be okay after bishop c5 and the option to take out the exchange. That should be fine, and the king should really go back to f8, it seems. with best play, black should get a small edge there. But, okay, so queen f3 was played. We see queen takes a4, bishop takes d6. So this is a very dangerous position. White wants to take out this and crash through on the f file. And the queen even seems to be, irrelevant now to king safety for the moment. But the queen comes back to the game with queen c6. Very resourceful move. Very resourceful. If, this is not so good for white. Things are simplifying here in black's favour most of the time. If Fischer played bishop takes b8 here, before we get into that, if bishop takes e7, then simplification ensues. And this is going to be at least, even. And black's got the prospects with the two minor pieces against a rook, basically. But we have bishop takes b8, but now this key check wins back that piece. So black is actually a piece up here. There's compensation. White has compensation, of course. It looks like the king's scarily, unsafe after check. We see, Tal has to play rook d7. Otherwise, there's big trouble here on king d8 after a check here. Black is getting checkmated, essentially. So we see rook d7, which allows check. And now, again, it has to be played very, very carefully. We see bishop e7, which does allow rook takes f7 deflection, but still Tal is a piece up here after king takes check, queen takes d7. So things have simplified, and the situation is it's two pawns for the bishop here. We see queen b7, rook g6, and it seems after c3 now, a5, Tal is kind of consolidating the material advantage. After c takes, a takes, white's pawns here are kind of suppressed, and g3, the things like bishop c7 are potentially arising. We have queen c6 getting the queens off. So this endgame, Tal is pretty confident he can actually take this to a win. The king comes to the center. Yeah, it's bad news for Fischer here. This is a bishop down scenario, and Tal is just making improvements to the position. And a great endgame player actually, Mikhail Tal. After bishop d4, that introduces rook f3. Potentially, we see a3, b3. If instead of a3, if b3, then rook f3 check, and starting to drive white back. So a3, we see b3 though. Rook c8, and now this pawn is taken, check, king c6, rook b8, but now rook f3 check, king c4, and now rook c3 check, king b4, king c7, rook b5, and now a brutal move in this endgame for 100 points. What would you play here with black? Okay, bishop a1, yeah, with the idea of b2. So after a4, b2, yeah, Bobby Fischer has to resign again. He lost 4-0 to Tal in this tournament. Tal amusingly took to trying to sign for Fischer because he got used to Fischer's signature on the score sheet. But anyway, they were very, very good friends actually, and Fischer actually visited Tal in hospital as well at one point. And yeah, they were very, very good friends. I think Fischer had the greatest of admiration from Tal. Tal was highly charismatic, it seems, a great personality on the tournament circuit. In this final position, just for the record, so if king takes c3, the point is we queen with check, and if king a5, then rook c1, and then we're going to queen with the rook support. So this is hopeless for white. So yeah, a very, very dramatic, thrilling game, I would say. Kind of provocative, kind of taking these micro upsides like the g-file and like the rook versatility from white's kind of very dangerous sacrificial play not trying to take the sacrifices explicitly on f5 and d5. A very, very dramatic game. Takeaway points. Well, this is a very, very unique game because of its razor-sharp tactical nature. It's good to try and take the micro upsides out of the opponent's sacrifice offerings. Maybe that's the key one. Just look for the micro upsides that you can get out of things, like the g-file, like the rook, being able to defend on the second row. Take the micro upsides when you can. But I would say that Tal exceeded a risk threshold in this game by taking out that centre pawn. But it demands a concrete refutation, and that requires time, energy, and the potential to slip up. The way Tal played it was pretty provocative, it seems, in this game. So Fischer kind of threw the kitchen sink, but on this occasion it didn't quite work out. Tal managed it to get to be material up and then consolidate in the endgame. So a really fantastic, dramatic game indeed. I hope you enjoyed it and did get some points from it. Thanks very much. Hi there. Thanks for getting to the end of the YouTube video. If you would like to see other Mikhail Tal games, I actually have an amazing course for Mikhail Tal, which is currently at 4.9 with over 400 students. You can check this out from the Kingscrusher TV page. So Chess Strategy and Tactics, Mikhail Tal's amazing games. You can check out some free preview videos as well here. If you do expand all sections, you can see the preview links to get some free previews. So I hope you do check out this course index and the free previews. So I really had a thrilling time actually checking out Mikhail Tal's games. So yeah, the YouTube video here you saw was just a sample from this course. I hope you check it out. Okay, thanks so much. Oh, by the way, comments, questions, likes, shares, all appreciated. And if you did get to this part of the video, please do leave some sort of comment like Tal fan. Okay, thanks again.